Up third in my Leaders of Mandalore series is Prime Minister Almec. Yeah, I know I talked about saving him for later at the end, but I decided I wanted to go through the leaders in the order they stopped leading Mandalore, which puts Almec in here. And well, Almec's an interesting case because, well, he's not ever really the leader of Mandalore. He's the Prime Minister, the second in charge of Mandalore. But I think he's interesting enough to warrant a conversation here, and he is a leader of Mandalore. Well, the first thing I want to talk about, because this video also is not going to take the same form as the others, because he doesn't have as much content on him, if I'm being honest. But the first thing I want to talk about is Death Watch. Is he a part of Death Watch? Now, you might be thinking, no, why am I thinking he might be? Of course he's not. Well, here's the thing. When Kenobi first shows up to Mandalore in the first episode that they appear in Season 2, Almec vehemently denies that Death Watch has ever existed, that Jango Fett is even related to Mandalore. He just stole the armor, which, by the way, I think is how he should have gone the armor. That's a separate point. Jango Fett is indeed actually not related to the Death Watch. He was just a bounty hunter as a former Mandalorian. But Almec completely and utterly denies that Jango Fett had any connection to the Mandalorian culture and people. Which, true or not, shows that he's trying to hide something. He's trying to hide something. He's trying to hide the existence of the Death Watch. And later on in the scene, when Satine tells Kenobi to come walk with me, as they walk out past Almec, who's glowering at the camera, and a little musical sting plays. That musical sting is, I believe, only used around members of Death Watch. And yet, it's used here. It is next used, I believe, when we cut to Pre Vizsla. Not as Pre Vizsla as the leader of Death Watch, as he's talking to Dooku. So, at the bare minimum, this sting is associated with people who are with Death Watch. I believe it is only used around Death Watch, at least in the Mandalore arcs, but I don't know that for a fact. I'm not exactly the most musically inclined person, and I have not gone through looking for the sting. But they play that sting. And, well, that is the only time Almec appears except in this arc, except for the very start of the third episode, where he's just been told by one of the security guards that was spying on the Death Watch that they've joined up with the Separatists. And Almec basically lays out the Separatist plan. Which, okay, yeah, or not Separatist plan, Death Watch plan. So Almec either is a very quick thinker about this, as he immediately realizes that, they're planning on using the Republic Army to suppress us, so the Death Watch will be saviors, or he already knew and let it slip a bit there. And, well, there's not really any good evidence one way or the other, but it is definitely my theory that he's part of Death Watch and already knew the plan, and just let it slip a bit. Then, of course, some member of Satine's government sends a message out, and the real message he sends gets buried deep within the vaults of Mandalore, because Satine has a Death Watch mole deep within her government, someone who is able to hide security things deep within the pits of the security vaults, or whatever it was exactly it was called. And her informant, bringing her the real message, tells her this explicitly, that this must be someone who's deep within our government. At the end of the episode, Satine tells Kenobi that this conspiracy goes deeper. Someone deep within my government is working with the Death Watch. And it is never revealed who this person is. But, I mean, I think quite simply, assuming that this was something they intended to reveal, the only person it could be is Almec. Because either it's Almec or somebody that we have not heard of. Because everybody else that's with her government is either nameless, dead, or already revealed to be a member of Death Watch. Because who else is there in the season 2 episode? There's Pre Vizsla, member of Death Watch, the Nameless Guard, her minister who got killed. I guess we could count Talmarin. Well, he's not a part of the Mandalore government. He's a senator for another planet, and also he's dead and working with Death Watch. Which again, also like the whole season 2 arc is basically going, hey, look, every member of her government, everyone who's working with her is actually secretly a member of the Death Watch or working with the Separatists. It's all about how her entire government has been corrupted by the Separatists and the Death Watch. And it's on the brink of failure. Her visage of peace is nothing but a lie. I think it's a really good arc, like, from that perspective. And that would mean, in order to complete that, we'd need Almec to be a member of the Death Watch. And now, I'm going to speed through a little bit. We're going to come back to his time with, in Season 3. But in Season 5, when the Death Watch comes in and takes over Mandalore, they kill off every member of Satine's government, or have them join up with them. Except for one. Well, 2, I guess, as Satine also lives. But Satine says to, I believe, Maul, that every member of my government has been killed or joined with Death Watch, except for Almec. And, well, why would they leave Almec alive? I mean, sure, he was locked up in prison, but given that they specifically put him next to Satine, so that implies to me that they wanted to leave Almec alive. They knew who he was. Like, that prison is fairly empty. And they specifically put Almec right next to Satine. So clearly they knew who he was and how important he was, and that he would probably annoy Satine, which Pre Vizsla probably thought would be funny. So, but why would they do that? Well, it's my theory that Pre Vizsla and Almec had some sort of agreement. And as I mentioned last week, Pre Vizsla is a man of honor, at least at this point in his life. And he would not back out on his agreement. That's the reason why he locked up Maul. He locked up Maul because he told Maul that we will kill Kenobi together. And he will not kill Maul until they have killed Kenobi. Also, he kind of like his help killing Kenobi, but that's a side point. Also, if we're looking at this from a bit of a more cynical view, I don't know, this is probably a bit of a stretch, but assuming that Almec is actually still working with the Death Watch and just never, and doesn't tell them that, if Pre Vizsla kind of knew that Almec would be released, or that Maul would break out of prison and come for his throne and kill him, well then, if Almec is actually a member of Death Watch, planting him in a spot where Maul's likely to pick him up and go, oh, hello, why don't you be my Prime Minister and lead for me? If Almec is still a member of Death Watch there, then they kind of just won that, right? Like, they got the member of Death Watch into Prime Minister position underneath Maul. And Maul, as is revealed, as we know, basically delegates all of the control leadership of Mandalore to Almec. So, yeah, Almec won by that positioning. So, it's very possible to me that Pre Vizsla was just like, okay, I'm going to lock you up there, or pretend to leave you locked up, so that Maul will release you, and then if I die, oh well, if I die, not great, but at least a Death Watch member will still be leading Mandalore. Or if he doesn't break out, well, then I'll just let you out of the jail in a few weeks anyways, and no harm, no foul. Or as my first theory was, it's probably the more likely one, Almec had an agreement, and Pre Vizsla would honor that agreement in whatever form it was going to take. Anyways, yes. Back to the Season 3 arc. And, well, here we see Almec doing what he does. He's bringing down Satine's government in a way, and planting himself on top. This is really the Almec arc of Mandalore. And I found no evidence of this. But I really feel like this arc was supposed to be something to do with Almec and the Death Watch. Like, uncovering Almec as a part of the Death Watch. And, like, there's not really anything left of that arc. But it just feels right to me that that's what this was supposed to be, given where the Season 2 arc left off. Basically being, hey, Almec's, there's someone left in the government that is working with the Death Watch, and who else is it going to be but the second most powerful person on Mandalore? But anyways, yes. Almec is once again still denying the existence of Death Watch and their connections to the crimes going on, which, I mean, does imply to me that he knows what's going on involving Death Watch. Or does he suggest it? Wait, shit. I think he suggested this was Death Watch. I think in the final version of... I should really probably double check. I'm 90% sure Almec suggests that this was the Death Watch. Yeah, it was... Almec suggested it was the Death Watch. And Satine is the one who says, no, Death Watch has only ever targeted me and my administration, not the children. Which, yeah. Anyways, yes. So yeah, Almec is now claiming that this might be the Death Watch, which does kind of go against my theory that he's working with the Death Watch, especially by the time of Maul's takeover. But that wasn't really my theory, anyways. My real theory is that he was working with the Death Watch prior to Maul's takeover, or rather prior to everything going tits up in Season 2, and then he just goes, you know what? Screw you. I'm going to be leading Mandalore, and then they just lock him up in jail because, well, maybe he's, like I said, Vizsla promised Almec that something would happen with him, or maybe he just wanted to torment Satine a bit before killing off Almec. But regardless, Almec tries to blame the tea poisoning black market stuff on the Death Watch here, thinking that Satine will probably bite onto that and take as a reason. She does not, because she's an idiot. Like, there's no reason to suspect this isn't the Death Watch, really, other than she doesn't know what the fuck the Death Watch actually want to do. It seems like, I don't know. Like I said in her video, her counseling is corrupt to the core. She does not have any control. She doesn't have any knowledge because she doesn't allow people to tell her things, really. Anyways, that is about this arc, but the wrong person within it, really. So yeah, so Almec is actually behind all this, behind the tea incident, of course, and he's plotting and planning, and he's building up a black market and a stockpile. So it seems like his plan was to bring down Satine through her corruption, because let's be honest, that probably wouldn't be that hard, given she told a cop, burn down the evidence or I will lock you up. Like, when someone starts doing that, it's not going to be hard to blame them as, the person behind the crimes. And so then once she's locked up, Almec will be able to go, hey, look, I found this big stockpile of food that she's was hoarding, and give that to the people. Freeing them from the blockade, or from not the blockade, from the lack of supplies they're getting. And so then, and bring in the black market. He didn't want the tea to be poisoned, like, nobody did. Also, I'd like to point out that, as far as I can tell, there's no evidence at all in the entire show that Almec was actually connected to the tea aliens. Except for, in Season 5, Satine basically says, you were responsible for the deaths of children, which is clearly referring to the tea aliens. But once again, I'm pretty sure in Season 3, there's no evidence that anyone actually died to the tea, just that there was an outbreak. Which, okay, probably might have led to deaths, but, it was caught pretty quickly, and there's never mention that anyone died in that, so, I don't know. It feels like they kind of wanted to do up his crimes, but then also in Season 5, they have him say, everything I was doing was to build support for your government, which, given that he was hiding a massive food stockpile, seems unlikely. Yeah. The Season 5 New Mandalorian politics is a bit weird, in my opinion, and doesn't quite make sense. And like they're just going, okay, yeah, we're killing off the entire New Mandalore people, so we're just going to wrap up their plotline as quickly as possible, which isn't great, but not much we can do about it really at this point. Yes, but anyways, season 3, he's locks up Satine, locks up anyone who knows that he's behind this, and then, so they're all locked up, and he's even trained his people to resist the Jedi mind trick, and he calls it an archaic magic, which I think is a really nice touch for a Mandalorian to say, because the Mandalorians, of course, fought the Jedi for ages, and were anti-Jedi to their core. And so he's calling their stuff archaic. It's old. It's out of place. And magic, again, involves it's about trickery and deception and badness. So he's basically calling it old trickery. I've been trained to resist your old trickery, or my men have. It's a nice little line. Doesn't really relate to the main topic here. But anyways, yes, then Almec gets locked up and sent to prison in the big tower, and he tells his men to stand down. Also, by the way, I think I mentioned this in the Satine video, but how the hell did Almec build up a massive personal army of cops loyal to him without Satine knowing it? Like, she really is an incompetent ruler to her core. The fact that Almec was able to build up so much without her even having any suspicion as to who it was, really. Because, yes, she does not realize that Almec is plotting to betray her and overthrow her. Because she doesn't know. Like, she might have figured it out by the time of the second episode of Season 3 arc, but she specifically tells Anakin and Ahsoka that she asked for Ahsoka to come, or a Jedi to come, because she wanted to get to the root of this, to understand who was behind it. Which means that when she was with Padme, in the first episode of the Season 3 arc, she didn't know who was behind it all. Which presumably means she doesn't realize that Almec has a massive army. And the only reason she was able to find out is possibly because some of her students got a bit hungry and snuck into a food storage. Yeah, Almec's plot is foiled so stupidly. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird episode. The season 3 and 4 arcs on Mandalore are definitely way weaker than the 2 and 5 ones. But, yeah, they're still good. They're not like Umbara. Oh, that's a statement. That'll get people pissed at me. Oh, yes, I can't wait to make that video. Oh, I can't wait to tear apart Krell. I love that. I'm going to love all the hate that's coming to me for that. Anyways, yes. I've then pretty much covered the season 5 bit. He doesn't appear or mentioned in season 4. Season 5, he's locked up next to Satine. Maul breaks him out and plants him as Prime Minister of Mandalore. And he rules Mandalore, and he's in a couple scenes, none that are really all that important. He's basically saying, we've done it. He's clearly backing Maul by this point. Then, of course, Maul gets captured, and then in Son of Dathomir. About to talk about Son of Dathomir comics again. But fortunately, he's not really in any of the bad parts. But what we do see from him is that he's been placed as the true leader of Mandalore, or the leader of Mandalore in Maul's absence, and that he's still looking to restore Maul, to free Maul. And he does actually say here that you freed me from my prison once, which does imply that he was actually locked up there. Although I do feel like there was probably a bit of a power struggle between him and Gar Saxon. Almec as leader of the people of Mandalore, and Gar Saxon as leader of the warriors of Mandalore. And so, as a sort of way to resolve that, they work together to go free Maul. And Almec is still trying to keep up appearances with Maul that, hey, I'm actually working with you. I wasn't actually working with Vizsla. because he assumes that Maul wouldn't appreciate that. Yeah. And then that's pretty much all he does. He doesn't give it Maul the Darksaber, but he tells, I believe he tells Maul that the Darksaber has been recovered for him. And that's it for him in season, or non-season, in Son of Dathomir. Then in season 7, we first see Almec as he's contacts Bo-Katan, and Almec tells the attacking Republic army, saying that their presence is a direct violation of treaties. So Almec here is quite clearly saying, hey, if you come and get us, we will fight back. You are breaking the law. You are breaking our treaties. Almec is, before the war actually started, trying to say, no, stop the war, put an end to it. Obviously, he knows this will not happen, but keep that in mind for the Maul video, because I'm going to be talking about it, Maul's idea around the Siege of Mandalore then. Then Almec gets captured by the attacking forces, and he gets locked up in prison, and he's got some fancy Mandalorian armor he wears for one scene. I've been getting into a bit of Star Wars Legion lately, and I kind of want Almec just in that armor. Be neat. Like, there with the new Mandalorian forces, shove him into Clan Saxon, which is the Maul faction in that game. By the way, play Star Wars Legion. It's a great game, and more people playing it means that's more likely to do well. Yeah. I'd say that as though anybody's actually watching this video. Yes, where was I? Right, yeah, so he gets locked up in prison, and then Maul sends Gar Saxon to assassinate him. But Almec Almec's got a lot to reveal here, which shows that Maul has revealed a lot to Almec. He trusts Almec as more than just a figurehead. He wants Almec to know things. He wants to build plans with Almec. I think that shows that Almec has a lot of power within this government. And we also see that Almec is ordering around Rookcast and Gar Saxon a little bit, telling them what to do. The relaying orders from Maul, but still, it shows that he is taking up the position as the Maul's second in command. Not the leader of the people of Mandalore is the second in command, not the leader of the warriors of Mandalore, or the leader of Shadow Collective. Which I think tells a lot about how Maul views Mandalore. And that is, again, more for the Maul's video. But I think that is where Almec's video comes to a close. Next time, it is Maul. And by the way, I am sorry this video took so long. I got a bit distracted with things. The Maul video, who knows how long that will take. I can probably do it in a day if I wanted to, but I don't.